Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you, caller.
Thank you very much.
Will you send me a stamped envelope? I'll send you a couple of $5 bills, which you can use for dinner or lunch or whatever over at that beautiful little restaurant, the Lakeview, and also the next door fish house they have.
Absolutely. And I'd like to take this occasion to say hello to Mr. and Mrs. B, who are very hard at work on their Christmas program.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
How did it change your life about love, your approach to love, to caring and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
How did it change that? I'm sure you were a loving, caring person before anyway, right?
Sure. Being exposed to death on a daily basis really allowed me to value every connection that I make with people and really value people. And at least for me, before I joined, I was caught up in the day-to-day, daily activity, of the to-do lists and the running around. And I think that since I've come back, it's really emphasized the importance of the time that we do have together and the connections that we can make with each other.
You've seen the final end, plenty. How many bodies did you have to process in a day on average over there? I mean, you're dealing not with 2 or 3 people, I know that.
Right. Some days we would get no one. Other days we'd get 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, sometimes 8. It just depended on the day, and so it really varied. It could be, often it was a couple people at one time, or we would go out on a convoy to pick up remains that had been hit by an IED, and so several people had died at once. It felt like that it was a constant slew of people.
Constantly. Has this, meaning changing you in your way, do you now accept your own death?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's a real possibility that we have to talk about.
A lot of people just won't accept it. They don't even write a will. They don't have a power of attorney for their children, especially if they're sick for a while. They don't have a health care proxy. They just say, I'm not going to die, essentially.
Right.
And some people accept it, say, yeah, I know I'm going to die. Especially when you're my age, you're in your 73rd year. You know, that guy with the great big sigh is right behind you, looking over you. We're talking to Jess Goodell. Jess has written a book, and it's called Shaded Black, about her experiences in the mortuary services in Iraq. And she's giving us a little inside information, which is very hard to get. I mean, you're not going to talk to anybody who's really worked on the mortuary services and get much out of them, are you?
Right.
Because it's a pretty tough job, she points out, and anybody knows. You basically are dealing with people who've been pretty badly mutilated by explosions, and you don't get somebody who's just had a clean shot through the head or anything. You probably get somebody who's blown apart in most cases, right? And you now have to prepare them. What do? Do you just stuff them in a bag and put them in a casket? What do you have to do?
Well, when we would go to the site, we would collect.
You sort them, right?
Yeah,
we would get them together.
We would collect everything, and once they were at our bunker, we would place them in a clean body bag, and put all of the remains of one person in one bag, and from there we would put them into an aluminum transfer case, and then it was at our site that we would put on the flag and tie the flag down.
Transfer case being a coffin in essence, right? So the coffin. We got another caller too. You want to take one?
Sure.
Let's interrupt. Take one. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning. First of all, I want to thank Jess for her service. Obviously, it's been a very sensitive and caring service provided to our servicemen and women, and it certainly is something that many of us probably couldn't do. But my question is, Jess, if you've been faced with all of this death and handling of folks that were killed in the war, how did that affect you after service? Have you had to have counseling, much like you've heard with post-traumatic syndrome and so forth? Can you talk to us about that?
When I got back, it It changed my life, and I was in a really dark place. It was really painful, and I was there for a long time. And as a Marine, I'm trained. I don't complain, and so it really, I didn't notice that anything was wrong. I thought I could tough it out, and I ended up going into a VA hospital for veterans. And when I was there, I talked to a whole staff of psychologists and psychiatrists, and so post-traumatic stress disorder was one of the things I was diagnosed with, and it's something that I struggle with on a daily basis, although now it's gotten a lot better because I've been able to go to counseling, I've been able to go to group counseling, I've been able to talk to a lot of veterans, and talking to people has really helped, because people, which was surprising to me, people are very caring and compassionate and forgiving, and talking to other people has really what's gotten me to this place where I can talk now about it.
Thank you, caller. Send in a self-addressed envelope. I'll give you a couple of goodies for the wonderful little restaurant, the Lakeview, at the foot of the hill in Mayville, New York. I go there for a fish fry. They have a fish fry that laps over your plate that big. And they have a salad bar that'll never end. Of all the things you dream of in a salad bar, they have it. I used to go to Roy Rogers on Long Island for years for their salad bars. This exceeds it. Incredible. Both restaurants have a nice salad bar. Hello there, Rick Newell. He runs the place. He and his wife and Dave, they have a great place. Talking to Jess Goodell, post-traumatic stress disorder. You felt some of that. Big deal. A lot of kids coming back have it, and it's not being very well treated, according to what I hear, because for two reasons. One is the troops are hesitant to come forward and say, I've been driven really off the wall because of all my experiences. It's been horrible. There's a mental illness tag with it and so forth, which is just something they don't want. They won't touch it. And of course, the Army or the Armed Forces have very few, let's say, assets which deal with this program, with this problem, although they are now beginning to recognize it and more, and are putting more money and funding of various sorts into it. You think they're doing enough?
Well, it's a difficult bridge to make because there's several reasons why the service members don't come forward. One is that they don't want the tag of being mentally ill. The second, another reason is that often we don't know that we have PTSD. We don't know that something's wrong.
What are the symptoms? You stay inside.
Sure. Avoidance. And avoidance can mean a lot of different things. Avoiding your family, avoiding your friends, avoiding your feelings, avoiding thinking about it, re-experiencing the event. If you're having dreams about it, specifically like nightmares, sometimes we have like flashbacks of the experience.
What do you mean a flashback?
Sometimes service members can feel as though they're right back in Iraq and they can be reliving a scenario in their mind. Perhaps they're driving down the road and all of a sudden it feels like they're driving in a road in Iraq, and they're looking out for IEDs and anticipating an explosion. It's much more intense than that, though. So the re-experiencing, and then the hypervigilance, feeling like you're on edge, scanning the room for people, hearing a door slam and looking over to see who it is, laying awake in bed at night and listening to any noise that you can hear in anticipation of a burglar or an attack. It's kind of like being on edge all the time, being on guard.
Like you never left Iraq, where you have to be again on guard at all times.
Yes. And what's important, I think, about PTSD is that it's a natural response. It should happen, and it does happen. You experience a traumatic event, it's going to disturb you, and that's a natural response, to be disturbed after experiencing a trauma. And so it's important to kind of recognize that as well.
In other words, if you don't have a reaction, you're abnormal. Something's wrong with you. You should have a reaction.
There should be
Normal
a
people
reaction.
would when you experience these some of these traumatic things.
Yeah. Now, hopefully, it doesn't take the form and the extent and the intensity of PTSD, but there's still some sort of reaction.
How many women do you deal with? There are very few women who are in a combat situation, right? In Iraq.
A lot of, if you're in the service member and you deploy to Iraq, you will be in combat.
No. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. There was for quite a period of time they weren't, and of course the women were very resentful of this because you can't get promotions and rise to the top in your particular field if you're a career soldier without combat experience in most cases, right?
Well, certainly, what's unfortunate about it is that often in a combat environment, you're exposed to situations in war that require the sense of performance that's unsurpassed in other contexts, and as a result, service members receive a lot of ribbons or medals, and those ribbons and those medals are taken into account when they're promoted. So if you're not in that combat experience, you don't have
You don't have all the medals.
You don't have all of those on your record.
Stuff, yeah. Suicide. Highest number of suicides in history. And a lot of it, according to the pundits, is due to the post-traumatic stress disorder. People come back. And incidentally, they tell me, I don't know how accurate this is, 1 in 10 returning servicemen has killed someone. Themselves, in large part, in a lot of them. But it's a pretty serious matter, and I guess they really have to address it now. They're really going to have to say, we're doing something really bad to a lot of people here, and we've got to try to make it good. And in your case, they made it good. You're in the doctorate program, right?
Correct.
Where are you now?
I'm studying right now up at UB.
UB.
And they have a really great program in counseling.
Counseling.
And that's kind of my hope, is to work with veterans, because I know as a veteran who needed help, it was so beneficial to be able to talk to another veteran about your experiences, because they understand you on a level that's unique.
You almost don't have to talk that much. You just know what the experience was. Have you, well, you've had quite a bit of experience talking to other people, right? Other vets. You said that was very important to you.
Yes. Yeah.
You enjoy going to college now?
I do. And it's a really neat experience to be in a position where, in the counseling program, where you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about other people, and really the humanness of this experience.
Are you going to be a psychologist? You'll have your doctorate in psychology, which is a wonderful field. Where did you go before? What did you study?
Well, I started out my education at JCC.
JCC, which a lot of kids do, and that's a cheap way to get started, I might add.
Yep, and then from there I went to SUNY Fredonia.
Me too.
Yep.
Me, my children, my wife, everybody. Fredonia. Good school, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I learned to play bridge there. A good game of bridge. I didn't learn much else, I'm afraid. But, no, that's not true. Of course, it's an experience in itself. And what did you study there?
While I was at Fredonia, I studied psychology and philosophy.
So you're still in the same game. You're just moving on.
Yep.
And you got a master's somewhere?
Nope, I went...
Directly into the doctoral program?
Yes.
I'm sure you'll be one of the best because you have experience that's totally unfathomable to the average person. The idea that you have to deal with dead soldiers, which is a sad part of the war. I noticed you never criticize the war. Careful not to. You think the Army will come down on you, the Marines will come down on you if you do?
No.
If you were George Bush, you would have listened to your father. George Bush Jr.'s father said, do not go into Iraq. It's a death knell. It's going to cost you thousands of dead kids, billions of dollars, and you're going to get absolutely nothing out of it. Now that we're pulling out, do you think we've won? Have we won?
When?
Have we won the war in Iraq now that we're pulling out?
I don't think that war is winnable.
It's not winnable. That's what everybody says. Not just the Marine. Everybody says there's no winning this war.
Yeah.